Welcome friends to another video session of figures of speech. Today we are going to move forward to some more figures of speech which we have not covered in the last sessions. Hello everyone, I am Anurag Srivastava, TGT English at Army Public School, New Kent, Prayagraj, and as I told you, we are going to take up the third session of figures of speech. We have already done 2 sessions on the topic, and before we move forward, we will take a quick roundup of the previous 2 sessions. As I have always said, revision is essential for retention. We will start this session with revision of what we did in the last sessions of figure of speech. We discussed about figures of speech, their correct usage, some figures of speech also. In previous 2 sessions, we discussed alliteration, simile, metaphor, personification, hyperbole, irony, pun, oxymoron, onomatopoeia, paradox, and lightheadedness. So guys, before we move forward, I want you to be sure that you have watched the videos of figures of speech of last sessions so as to be clear about the last ones we discussed. To have a look at what we have is necessary before we aspire for something better. Knowledge is a great source and it is with you till you are respecting it. I mean that you are revising it. In today's session, we will be doing some more figures of speech which are also an integral part of English but a little less identified and used. So let's move forward. First of all, we have anaphora. Anaphora is a rhetorical term for the recurrence of a word or phrase at the beginning of consecutive clauses. By building towards an acme, anaphora can create strong emotional upshot. Subsequently, this figure of speech is often found in polemical writings and fervent declamation. It can be useful for you in speeches, debates, and group discussions. Here are some examples. Of all the gin joints in all the towns, in all the world, she walks into mine. Is another example, a very famous speech by Nelson Mandela. During my lifetime, I have dedicated myself to this struggle of the African people. I have fought against white domination and I have fought against black domination. I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society in which all persons live together in harmony and with equal opportunities. It is an ideal which I hope to live for and to achieve, but if needs be, it is an ideal for which I am prepared to die. In all these examples, some parts of the speeches have come again and again. In the first one, all is repeating again and again in the whole sentence. In the second one, I have has been repeated to give an effect in the whole statement. After anaphora, we have antithesis. Antithesis is a figure of speech which refers to the comparison of opposing or contrasting ideas. It involves the bringing out of a contrast in the ideas by an obvious contrast in the words, clauses, or sentences within a parallel grammatical structure. Here are some examples. Man proposes, God disposes. Here is another example by Neil Armstrong. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. To err is human, to forgive is divine by Alexander Pope. A very famous statement by William Shakespeare. Give every man thy ear, but few thy voice. In all these examples, 2 contrasting ideas come together in a single sentence. That's why here we have antithesis. Now let us have a look at apostrophe. Apostrophe in literature is a figure of speech sometimes represented by an exclamation such as "oh." A writer or speaker using apostrophe speaks directly to someone who is not present or is dead, or speaks to an inanimate object. It is important not to confuse apostrophe, the literary device, with the apostrophe, the punctuation mark. But the punctuation mark shows position or marks the omission of one or more letters, which is called contraction. Apostrophe in literature is an arrangement of words addressing a non-existent person or an abstract idea in such a way that if it were present and capable of understanding feelings. Here are some examples. Is this a dagger which I see before me? The handle towards my hand. Come, let me clutch thee. I have thee not, and yet I see thee still. This statement is given by Macbeth in Macbeth by Shakespeare. Another very common example of apostrophe is "Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are, up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky." This famous poem by Jane Tyler addresses the stars as living entities. Thus, we have apostrophe here. In the first example, Macbeth is talking to a dagger which is in front of him on the table. The Shakespeare has used apostrophe. Now we have assonance. Assonance takes place when two or more words close to one another repeat the same vowel sound but start with different consonant sound. For instance, in the following sentences: men sell the wedding bells. The same vowel sound of the short vowel E or A repeats itself in almost all the words excluding definite article. The words do share the same vowel sounds but start with different consonant sounds, unlike alliteration, which involves repetition of the same consonant sound. Below are a few more examples of assonance that are common. First one is from With Love by Thin Lizzy. I must confess that in my quest I felt depressed and restless. This one is from Daffodils from Wordsworth. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over valleys and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. The occurrence of vowel sounds in both the examples make it assonance. Let's have a look at chiasmus. Chiasmus is a rhetorical device in which two or more clauses are balanced against each other by the reversal of their structures in order to produce an artistic effect. Let us try to understand chiasmus with the help of an example. Never let a fool kiss you, or a kiss fool you. Notice that the second half of this sentence is an inverted form of the first half, both grammatically and logically. In the simplest sense, the term chiasmus applies to almost all crisscross structures, and this is a concept that is common these days. In its strict classical sense, however, the function of chiasmus is to reverse grammatical structure or ideas of sentences given that the same words and phrases are not repeated. Here are some more examples. Bad men live that they may eat and drink, whereas good men eat and drink that they may live, by Socrates. Another example, do I love you because you are beautiful, or you are beautiful because I love you, by Oscar Hammerstein. Let's take a look at euphemism. A euphemism is the use of agreeable or inoffensive words to replace rude or offensive ones. A euphemism is a figure of speech which means an expression in which the words are not used in their literal sense. Therefore, euphemisms are classified as figurative language, which is the use of words in an unusual or imaginative manner. Here are some examples. He has passed away. It means he has died. She is in between jobs. She is unemployed. She has resigned her commission. That means she has been sacked or thrown out of the job. He is a little sin on top. That is, he is losing hair. This pre-loved sofa is for sale. This second-hand sofa is for sale. Adam, did you recycle Jack's research? That means he has plagiarized it. There's a technicolored yawn on the path. That is pool of vomit. She is economical with the truth. That is, she is a liar. Now, we are not calling her directly a liar, but we are saying that she is economical with truth. She does not tell the truth. That means she is a liar. That is what euphemism is. Now we have metonymy. Metonymy is a figure of speech that replaces the name of a thing with the name of something else which is closely related. We can come across examples of metonymy both from literature and in everyday life. Here are some examples. First one, as he swung towards them, holding up the hand, half in appeal but half as if to keep the life from spilling. The life from spilling here means the blood, spilling out of blood. This is taken from Out by Robert Frost. Now again we have Mark Antony's speech. Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears, by Shakespeare in Julius Caesar. Ear here means he is asking them to listen. He is not actually asking for his ears. So we have metonymy here. Here is synecdoche. Synecdoche is a literary device in which a part of something represents the whole, or it may use a whole to represent a part. Synecdoche may also use larger groups to refer to smaller groups, or vice versa. It may also call a thing by the name of the material it is made of, or it may refer to a thing in a container or packaging by the name of that container or packaging. The western wave was all aflame. The day was high done. Almost upon the western wave rested the broad bright sun. These lines are from the Rime of Ancient Mariner by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. The term western wave is used to represent the sea. Thus we have synecdoche here. And at last we have understatement. An understatement is a figure of speech employed by writers or speakers to intentionally make a situation seem less important than it really is. For example, a team loses to its opponent 50-0 in a soccer match, and the captain of the team says in post-match ceremony, "We did not do well." It is an understatement because he is trying to decrease the intensity of the loss. There are some more examples. You just hit the biggest lottery of all time. An understatement would be, I'm a kind of excited. You are out to dinner with a friend who spills food down the front of a white shirt. An understatement would be, really, it's hardly noticeable, to be polite. You get the highest grade in the class and you want to be modest, so you understate it like this: I did okay on that test. You scrape the entire side of your car. An understatement would be, it's only a small scratch. That's comedic way of saying so. So this was understatement. Okay friends, this was today's session of figures of speech. We have till now covered the most important 20 figures of speech. If you have understood these well, you will be able to identify them. There are some more, but they are rather not so important or recognized. If you have any question regarding the concepts of any of these, you can comment in the comments below. We will address them in the next session. If you like the video and it explains you the concept, do hit that like and subscribe buttons for more updates. We will soon meet with another topic of English. Till then, goodbye.